all of a sudden, every single person wants Black Americans to forget about slavery. How? Like, just let it make sense to me that Black Americans should just forget about slavery and move on with their life. Are there not some of their families that are still alive, that are still suffering this same thing? This white man think he can just come on podcast or come on his show and then just say any single thing that he actually want to say, but he actually got it hot this time around. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Sonia. If this is the first time you're tuning in, subscribe, like, comment, and share. Every clip used in today's episode, credit belongs to original creators of this video. And this video is just for educational purposes only. Nothing but educational purposes. For this white man, guys, let's just watch this video, then I'll come back. Let me not see what I want to see.
Fucking slavery from people who never fucking had to deal with it. I don't want to hear about how I'm fucking racist for the last 40 years of my life because of something that happened 300, 400, 200 fucking years ago. Can we all look at each other and be like, all right?
The reason why this conversation is a never-ending one is because people who take that stance are always willfully obtuse on the subject of oppression when it comes to us. It's so easy to run to the argument that slavery happened 200 years ago, 300 years ago, because then you could just close your mind off to everything that happened after slavery, like i.e. Jim Crow. Jim Crow was this lifetime. Ruby Bridges has an Instagram account. Many of our parents are alive, are only in their 50s and 60s, especially those of us who have families born down south. My father was born in 1965 in Mississippi, a few months before the Voting Rights Act was passed. Guess how old he is? He's barely 60 years old. Jim Crow was just as bad as slavery. But every time we have this conversation, you gloss over Jim Crow and just jump to, oh, well, that happened 300 years ago. Get over it. We have parents still alive from the era where, I'll give you something real quick. When I say my father was born in Mississippi, and I talk to him and my grandmother who are still alive about that time period, just something small. A lot of people, a lot of our parents who were born in Jim Crow couldn't be born in hospitals in the South. Because of lack of resources like driving. There weren't many hospitals in rural areas, or they didn't have adequate staff for the maternity wards. So it was just easier for Black people giving birth to give birth at home with midwives. I am the first generation, and I'm 30 something, I'm 38. I am the first generation of males, or just in general from my father's line, paternally, to be born in a hospital. I'll say that slowly. I am the first generation as a 38-year-old to be born in a hospital, because back in Mississippi when my dad was born, it didn't make sense for people to try to drive to Memphis to find a hospital if they were going in labor, knowing they wouldn't get adequate treatment. So they would be born in a shotgun house to a midwife. That's how recent this stuff is, and the people from that time period are still alive. Even after Jim Crow, because people will say, oh, well, now you're bringing up Jim Crow. Even after Jim Crow, things were still happening. Redlining, lynchings, not just down south, but up north. I said this about 3 times on 3 different occasions, and I'll say it again. Maybe the algorithm will pick it up. For those of you in New York City that thinks it's so liberal, go look up Rosedale, Queens in the 70s and see what was happening to our community in Rosedale, Queens. I'll say it a 3rd time. Maybe the algorithm will pick it up. Rosedale, Queens in the 70s. There's a whole documentary on what was happening during that time period. That wasn't 300 years ago. Also in New York City, close to the 90s, meaning this lifetime, 30 years ago, 1989. In Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. I want to say Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. People were getting chased and lynched. Ever heard of the name Yusef Hawkins? Go look up Yusef Hawkins in 1989 in New York City. And many, many other things that happened after Jim Crow. So no, we don't have to look to 300 years so long ago when we have stuff happen. Oh, I bring it current because then people say, oh, well, that's 30 years ago. Hurricane Katrina. Hurricane Katrina, you were treating citizens like fugitives. People from Louisiana are on this TikTok app sharing their experiences of how they were treated as American citizens in their own country in Louisiana when them levees broke. So don't sit up here and act like institutional racism happened so long ago and you just need to man up and stop crying. Hurricane Katrina. They let them people die as American citizens. That's why we bring it up. Because every time we try to get over it, another situation happens and we have to look and say, well, damn.
Slavery wasn't that bad. Trump is absolutely right. He didn't say slavery wasn't bad. He said it wasn't that bad.
They ate people. They ate people thinking that they were gang superpowers. They fed children to alligators for sport. They raped other men's wives for punishment. They raped men for punishment and sodomized. They skinned people. They skinned people. Turned them into shoes, bags, wallets, and furniture. They operated on people without anesthesia just to see their reaction and built the entire medical practice off the bodies of black people. Your life couldn't even end in peace because they stole black deceased bodies. And so many people who didn't care that it didn't even matter. Children attended lynchings and they cut off body parts for souvenirs afterwards, made postcards of hanging bodies, used the bodies as decorations. And after all that torture, they took the time to say, hey, you know what? Let's create a system that they can never systematically get out of. Now, as a paper towel American, I don't expect you to know black history, but you got to be smoking sheetrock if you could say it's not that bad.
We're like the only race of people that they tell us to forget our history. Everybody else to be like, we're going to let you know so it doesn't repeat itself. Don't you forget that shit. That shit's not going to happen. Every other person. And then they'll all ask us to support them in their plight. They just want us to continue to entertain, give them creative ideas so they can steal all of that shit. We are the only motherfuckers that they tell to forget about our history. The shit is so disgusting.
It's disgusting.
When you go to a doctor's office, what's the first thing they do? They pull out your medical history.
Right.
Because we have to assess what is happening now. We got to look back and see, okay, let's see what happened. You were last time you were here, this happened.
Right.
That's how you're able to move forward. They don't use that same philosophy on African American or African history. We are so deeply hated. They hate us so much.
Right, it's so true.
And if they're not making money off of, if they're not benefiting sexually, monetarily, culturally, they don't think of us as human beings.
You know, some white people think that we should get over slavery very quickly. They say things like, you know, you weren't in slavery, you're not in slavery. But you forget that our forefathers passed down the sufferings of slavery to us and the mindset and the philosophy and ideology of slavery down to us as their children. So once slavery was over, then you had Jim Crow, which is just as bad as slavery. You didn't have our bodies, but you had our minds. And then you had redlining, where it was another part of Jim Crow, where we couldn't live in decent houses, and we had to live as subservients. And now, today, the 21st century, we're living under systematic racism. And you say, well, I'm not a racist. No, you're not. But the system that we live in is racist. And that's what you don't understand. And so when you make fun of black people, just remember, you're not doing anything as a white person to rectify the situation. All you're doing is sitting on your couch, laughing about it, talking about it, going to your little church, worshiping God. If you really want to affect and help black America out, put your money where your mouth is. That'll settle the problems. your talking and your attitude and your criticism won't do anything for black people. We have to make it our own, maybe. That's what we've been doing for 300 years. We'll survive, but you have to live with your conscience, whether you help black people or not. So this is Black Society.
Imagine this. You and your entire family are asleep in your home, peaceful, safe, and happy. Suddenly, in the middle of the night, strangers break in. They're armed. They beat your father, they chain your mother, and they drag your children out of bed crying. They don't speak your language. They don't even care about your rights because they're not here to negotiate. They load you onto a filthy ship, and for weeks you're shackled in your own waste. You're barely fed with people dying next to you. You hear screaming. You see children being thrown overboard. And this is not war. This is business. When you reach their land, they sell you like cattle. Your family's ripped apart forever. Your name is taken. Your language is forbidden, and your God is erased. And your body, well, it belongs to them now. You will be worked until you die, and your children will be born into the same horror. Your grandchildren will never know freedom, and 400 years later, their descendants will look at your descendants and say, why can't y'all just get over it? The transatlantic slave trade wasn't just bad. It was a multi-century genocide masked in economics. It wasn't just physical slavery. It was a erasure of entire cultures, families, languages, and futures for profit. If that had happened to your family, would you just move on?
People will say black people need to just get over it. They'll say we need to just get over it. Slavery was so long ago. Black people need to just get over it. But it's not just about slavery. It's about today. It's about the fact that I grew up with my parents telling me about Eleanor Bumpers, who was in the kitchen cooking dinner for her family before she was unjustly unalived by police. It's about the fact that Ayanna Jones is a 7-year-old girl who was taking a nap on the couch and never got the chance to wake up again because the police raided the wrong house. It's about a Tatiana Jefferson who was unjustly unalived in front of her nephew because the police responded to a non-emergency call, yet somehow, some way, they sent bullets through her window. It's about Sandra Bland never making it home after she was unjustly arrested during a traffic stop because she just wanted to finish her cigarette. It's about Breonna Taylor laying in bed with her partner before the police ran in her home without identifying themselves and sent 6 shots through her body, unjustly unaliving her, and then trying to cover it up and still getting away. And today we have Sonia Massey in her kitchen following instructions. They told her to turn off the pot of boiling water. She turned off the water. She goes to dump it out. They accuse her of trying to come at them. She puts her hands up with the oven mitts on. She ducks down. Weapons are already drawn by this point, and she's unjustly unalive. And there's questions about whether or not she deserves it. So when they say black people need to just get over it, slavery was so long ago. It's not just about slavery. It's not about so long ago. It's about systemic oppression as a result of racism that still exists today. It's about the fact that every time we think we've gotten over one hurdle, a new one appears. It's about the fact that, yes, there was slavery. Yes, there was Jim Crow. Yes, there was redlining. But we have Eleanor Bumpers. We have Ayanna Jones. We have a Tatiana Jefferson. We have Sandra Bland. We have Breonna Taylor. We have Sonia Massey. And so many others. How can we get over it when it's always right in front of us?
Every once and again I'll get comments on a video I made a few years back discussing the details and the differences between the Barbary slave trade and the slave trade that affected African Americans here. And of course they always pull the cute old dusty little, well actually Europeans were enslaved too. Y'all always pull that card. Okay, cute. So let's do something that y'all hate to do, and let's use context, historical context, facts, societal implementation of said slave trade, and critical thinking skills. Yes, Europeans, Vikings, Ottomans, Barbary pirates, all had systems where white folks were captured and enslaved and sold. But here's what you're missing. Most of those systems were temporary. They were either ransom-based or for specific uses. They were not hereditary, lifelong, or racialized. Those people were not enslaved because they were white-skinned. And they sure didn't create a multi-billion-dollar economy built on the legal ownership of human beings. and the permanent dehumanization of an entire group of people. Yeah, that didn't happen to the Europeans. You see, American chattel slavery, baby, that's unique because it was generational and it was tied directly to your skin. Children, grandchildren, all born into it if you have black skin, or more appropriately, brown. See, you weren't just labor, you were property. We were seen as livestock on paper. And then, of course, you always want to hit us with that, do you know where the word slave comes from? Yes, it comes from the word Slav, because Slavic people were often enslaved by their own people, by other Europeans. It was normal and common, so common for Slavic people to be enslaved during raids, pirate raids, during ethnic war, tribal warfare, let's call it that. And so they were so commonly enslaved by other groups of Europeans that the word just stuck like, yeah, Slav equals slave, you know. That's called etymology. Etymology is about words, not about pretending that all slavery was equal. So trying to pull out all the other types of slavery throughout our history on this planet, because y'all love to do the whataboutisms, does not erase the reality that the transatlantic slave trade, chattel slavery in America, was a whole different beast. One that still echoes today in laws, wealth gap, and systemic racism. History is not a competition about who had it worse. But if you can't tell the difference between being captured, held for ransom, and then sent home once the ransom was paid, or being contracted to work as labor until you could pay off such debt and then go about your daily business, and instead being bred like cattle for 400 years, not even seen as human, that's not a history problem. That is a critical thinking problem.
Why do black people have to forget about slavery? Black people have to forget about slavery because we are still under attack currently today. So until we can focus and solve the issues that we have right now, we cannot go back into the past and correct what happened 400 years ago. We are under attack today. So we need to start fixing and resolving the issues that we have today with the system. If we could go back, we can get money for slavery, right? And it's not going to help us because they're using different tactics today. Similar tactics, yes. Know your history so that it doesn't repeat. But our history, it extends before slavery. But before we can even untangle that cord, we have to take the shackles off that we have on today, like mass imprisonment, poor education, incorrect identification. We cannot fix slavery has already happened, and especially if you consider that black families and black people were thriving post-slavery. So slavery, yes, it did something, right? But it did not limit us. It did not stop us from succeeding once we became free. It's what started happening to us after slavery that got us in the position that we are in right now. So we have to forget about slavery currently and fix what's going on right now. Fix what's happening right now. We got to counter their attacks on us right now. Then after we get to shore, because we're in the water trading, once we get to shore, then we can go back and make them pay for what they did. Because right now, slavery is just a distraction, and they know that. We gotta focus.
You cannot just tell people to forget about it, to forget about slavery because you are not in their shoes. A lot of you white people, if reverse is the case, it would have been another thing today. When you see these black people come out to air out their opinion, or people of my color coming out to say what they need to say, there is no need for you to shut them up, to be honest. And anyways, let's not talk too much, right? I just want to ask ChatGPT one question. Let me just get the answer that he will actually give me here, okay? Hi, ChatGPT.
Hey there, how's it going? What can I do for you today?
I'm fine. I just want to ask a quick question.
Of course. ask away. I'm here to help.
Okay. So, do you think that Black Americans should forget about slavery? Do you think talking about it is not necessary? If yes, give me your reasons. And if no, why?
That's a really thoughtful question. I definitely think it's important to remember and talk about history, including the history of slavery, because it helps us understand the present and work towards a more just future. It also honors the experiences and resilience of those who came before. So I'd say it's definitely necessary to keep the conversation going.
Very necessary, right?
Absolutely. It helps keep awareness alive and encourages understanding and empathy, which can lead to positive change. If you have any other thoughts or questions on it, I'm here for that too.
Do you think there is any future for Black Americans in Americans right now concerning slavery, reparation?
I think there's definitely hope for a brighter future. The conversation around reparations and addressing historical injustices is ongoing, and there's been some progress. As awareness grows and more people advocate for change, there's definitely potential for significant improvements in equity and opportunity. It might take time, but the momentum's definitely building.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. I'm
Good
glad
night.
to help. If
Good.
you ever have more questions or just want to chat, I'm here for it. Have a great day.
No problem. Good night. Have a great day too.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night and take care.
You too. That was ChatGPT answer. A technology recognize that the topic should not just be buried. So it is barbaric, it is frustrating, it is annoying that some people that are not my color can just wake up one morning and start wrapping their mouths. Why did you need to talk about slavery? Why won't they talk about it? Were you the enslaved ones? You were not the enslaved ones. And you are still enjoying the wealth created by these same people. And even if you want to say it, you cannot say it politely. You just go ahead in your podcast, blah, 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 blah. It is well. Let me know, guys, what you think in the comment section. Especially if you're watching as a Black American person. With all the clips that I've been able to play for you, do you think it is okay for you to just wake up one morning and forget about all the sweat that your forefathers and your fathers have been through over 400 years ago? I just want to get your thoughts in the comment section. Anyways, this is just for educational purpose, not to bash anyone. This content is for educational purpose. Let me keep repeating it. Credit belongs to original creators of every clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. And yes, guys, if you've not subscribed, subscribe, like this video, drop me a comment, and lastly, do not forget to share. With no further ado, I'm going to miss you, but I'll see you guys in my next one. Do not touch the dial. Come back for more. Bye. I love you guys. Mwah.